Hi there, my name's Abe Brown. I'm the founder of Momentum Coaching, and I'm the author of the transformational book, Getting Where You Need to Go. I'm also the North American president of the Certified Coaches Federation, which is one of the largest life and executive coach training bodies in the world. Thanks for taking a moment to check this video out with me, where I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about the area of breaking free of fear. Now, in my work as a life coach, one of the questions that I'm often asked is, how can I overcome my fears? The question isn't always framed exactly like that, but often comes out sounding something like this. How can I overcome my insecurities? How can I grow into my authentic self? How is it that I can not be trapped by the opinions and the expectations of others? How can I overcome my fear of rejection and not being accepted? How can I consistently unleash my very best self and not be held back by inhibition or intimidation and not being overly self-conscious? How can I stop needing other people's approval? You see, in life, one of the keys to actualizing and realizing your potential is to overcome your fears. One of the ways that we do that is by seeing ourselves correctly. People who have their eyes opened up to see themselves clearly end up doing a whole lot more in life than the people who do not. The world, unfortunately, has a lot of people who have not yet come to a place where they're utilizing their full capacity. And frankly, if we don't see ourselves correctly, if we're bound by the opinions and the limitations of others, it manifests itself, unfortunately, in we being trapped by all kinds of fears, limitations, and inhibitions. And we don't walk through life kind of with the lens of possibility, but end up living far below our capacity. You see, the reality is right now you are living today what you believe to be true about yourself. If you want to change, then what you need to do is change your beliefs and change your thinking. Where the heart and the mind goes, oftentimes the man or the woman follows. To some degree, all of us have a bit of a self-mirror, a bit of a faith box, a way of looking at ourselves that really frames our options. It limits us. It causes us to live contained. And as that faith box grows, our capacity to step into our very best self gets unleashed, and we can become all that we desire to become, and that best self can come out. But the reality is that your perception of yourself has a huge impact upon how it is that you're seeing yourself. I'm going to spend just a couple of moments looking at how it is we can break free of fear. Let's look at some definitions of fear to help us understand it. One of my favorite definitions of fear is that kind of well-known, well-used acronym of fear, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. So many times fear is exactly that. It's false evidence that's appearing to you and I as if it's completely real. Now, Webster's dictionary defines fear as an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation or awareness of danger. It's anxious concern, painful agitation in the presence of or anticipation of danger, and oftentimes it causes our courage to be lost. Aristotle said that fear is pain arising from the anticipation of evil. If you think about fear, it's really an expectancy that bad things are about to happen. And you see, these definitions help us to understand something that's critically important about fear. There are two types of fear. There's, of course, what you could call a healthy and irrational fear. And that's, you're walking down the street and you notice a bus is coming exactly at you. Of course, you're going to be afraid. You're going to jump out of the way. That's a healthy type of fear. That's the kind of fear that we want. But there's an unhealthy, irrational type of fear. These are the fears that harm us most. This is, maybe fear of public speaking, fear of people, fear of being rejected, fear of failure. These are often irrational and illogical fears that we need to overcome, or we'll be paralyzed with them. It's kind of those types of fears that Franklin Roosevelt spoke about in his 1933 inaugural address. He said this: "Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror which paralyzes needed efforts to convert, retreat into advance." In other words, the thing that you and I need to fear most is these unhealthy, irrational types of fear. So here's the question. How can we break free of fear? I'd like to give you 7 simple things. The first, number 1, is to overcome fear, you gotta face it. In other words, you gotta face your fear head on. You see, the reality is that a lot of the time we're looking for an experience to help lift us and overcome our fears. But you know, it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you gotta stare that fear in the eye, and you have to name it, and you have to declare you are an irrational, unhealthy fear. I am not going to be held back by you anymore. You know, a lot of the times people go through life wanting to call themselves overcomers and conquerors without actually having overcome or conquered anything. There's something to that. We need to be willing sometimes to battle it out, to face our fears. You know, Eleanor Roosevelt, of course, the wife of Franklin Roosevelt, said that fear is the most devastating emotion on earth. I fought it, she said, and conquered it by helping people who were worse off than I was. She said, I believe that anyone can conquer fear by doing the thing he fears to do, provided he keeps doing them until he gets a record of successful experience behind him. You see, it's really a lot of wisdom in that quote. I am going to overcome my fears by doing the very thing that I'm afraid of, but I need to keep doing it and long enough to get that track record of success behind me. So to break free of fear, I need to face it. The second thing is fight it. Fear doesn't just go away. Oftentimes we need to fight through it. You know, because fear has this pattern that gets deeply rooted in our subconscious, we need to literally be the kind of people who fight through it. You know, sometimes people have said to me, you know, how is it that you've overcome your fears? Because I guess to some folks I appear a little bit fearless, but I have to be very honest with you. I'm pretty much afraid of everything. I mean, I think if I saw my shadow more, I'd be afraid of my shadow. But the reality is that years ago, because of growing up in some pretty hard times with some abuse and some difficulty, I realized that if I allowed fear to hold me back, I pretty much wouldn't do anything. So I made a conscious decision in that dark hour that I was not going to allow fear to hold me back. I was going to become a person who fought through my fears. I remember, you know, way back in grade 11, grade 12, when I was just finishing high school, and you know, going into a contest as a snow king, you know, and one of these goofy contests that of course we do, and everyone had to have a talent, and I was scared to death of public speaking, and I knew that I had to get up and speak to my whole high school, and the way that I was going to break that fear was by declaring my talent is public speaking. I got up and I spoke to those people, and actually in that moment some people's lives were changed. And it's really interesting that when we fight it, we can overcome it. You can overcome it. Absolutely you can overcome it. But you just got to believe that you can do it. And you got to gather that courage and then just go out and do it. The third thing that we need to do to break free of our fear is what I call faith it. In other words, literally replace fear with faith. You see, for a lot of people, faith is a bit of an abstract concept. It's something that's kind of difficult to get a handle on and really define. But I can tell you this. If you wanted to see what faith looks like in action, it looks like courage. Courage flows kind of from that anticipation that if I step out and I try and I dive into this thing, that good things might actually happen. And oftentimes I overcome my fears by replacing it with faith. Now think about it. Faith is the anticipation of good. Fear is the anticipation of bad. Faith is positive energy. Fear is negative energy. Faith is healthy energy. Fear is unhealthy energy. And so if I take my unhealthy energy, my negative energy of fear, and I replace it with faith, all of a sudden I'm going to have the capacity to break free of my fears. If you really just break it down, fear is just energy. And it's just energy that can hurt you when it's the unhealthy, irrational type. Replace it with faith. Replace it with courage. You know, the fourth thing that we can do to overcome our fears is to fill it. In other words, fill ourselves with positive words. If I want to overcome my fears, I've got to fill myself with positivity. It seems like a simple concept, but over and over again, life teaches us that people become what they think about. Where the mind goes, the man follows. And if this is the case, then perhaps we should all make a concerted effort to embrace positive thoughts, to meditate on affirmative, positive, optimistic, encouraging, constructive thoughts that inspire us, that build us, that edify us, that cause us ready to take on the world rather than, kind of crawl under that rock in a cave somewhere. Today, you might encounter people who don't see you. They don't see your potential. They don't see your gifts. They don't see your talents. They don't see your passions. They don't see your heart. They don't see your abilities. It's all good because, you know what? The universe is going to send to you people who do see those good things. And even if you don't see those good, positive people around you, what you can do is choose what you're going to fill your container with. The container of your beliefs, the container of your mind, the container of your thinking. Fill it with faith. Fill it with positivity. Fill it with those thoughts that are going to launch you into the next level. The fifth thing we can do to overcome our fears is to follow it. You say, follow what? Well, to follow your life call, to follow your life fit, to follow your life mission, regardless of fear. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're 85, 90, 95, 120, however long you live, and you look back on your life, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, because I spent 12 years as a minister and would often sit at the side of people's deathbed as they would talk about their regrets. And one of the things that people would often say is, I wish I had had courage to step out and do more of the things that were in alignment with the core of my being. They regretted the fact that they allowed petty fears and fear of rejection, fear of other people's opinions, fear of not having people's approval to hold them back. You were put on this planet for a reason. I don't know what it is, but in your heart, you know what it is. And so rather than following the fears of negativity and other people's opinions, make a decision. I'm going to follow my life mission. I'm not going to let anything hold me back. I was put on this planet for a reason, to help people, to make a difference, and I'm going to go for it. I encourage you to follow it. Follow that life fit. Follow that destiny. Follow that life mission, whatever it might be. That takes us to our sixth point in terms of overcoming our fears, is to forsake it. Leave fear behind when you step out. At some point, you got to step out. You see, history is full of the examples of those who only conquered their fears, and saw results when they made a choice to step out and forsake their fears. In other words, you look at the example of somebody like an Abraham Lincoln, how he stepped out, he faced the fears and began to work hard to free the slaves and do the Emancipation Proclamation. Martin Luther King Jr. to stand up in the face of racism and discrimination and intolerance and to say, no, this isn't right. I have a dream. I'm going to step out. I'm going to forsake my fear, my comfort zone, all the things that I think really matter but don't, and I'm going to step out there, overcome my fears, and do some amazing things. I'll tell you what, breaking free of fear is about actively using your inner strength to break fear and step out in courage. That takes us to our last point for overcoming our fears. To overcome your fears, you got to fear it. You got to live, you got to fear living in fear more than you fear fear itself. In essence, to break free of fear, I believe we need to fear fear. In other words, I'm not going to let fear overcome my life. Like Roosevelt said way back in 1933, let me assert my firm belief, and I said this quote, but I'll say it again. Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror. You see, we need to fear that nameless, unreasoning, unjustified fear. That fear will paralyze you from making the efforts that you need to accomplish your life mission, to help the people around you, to take care of your family, and to do the things in life that really matter. Let me give you the top 10 reasons to fear living in fear. Number 1, fear saps your potential. Number 2, fear sucks your energy. Number 3, fear saddens your heart. Number 4, fear shrinks your mindset. Number 5, fear scraps your dreams. Number 6, fear surrenders your dignity. Number 7, fear sabotages your destiny. Number 8, fear sedates your motivation. Number 9, fear shakes your beliefs. Number 10, Fear shrouds, hides, and covers your amazing beauty. And so, as I close this here today, I want to thank you for taking a moment to check this video out. I hope it's been of some help to you. To break free of fear, let me just review the 7 things. Number 1, face it. Face your fears head on. Number 2, fight it. Fear doesn't just go away. We got to fight through it. Number 3, faith it. Literally replace your fears with faith. Number 4, fill it. Have a fresh, regular infilling in your heart and in your mind of positive words. Number 5, follow it. Follow your life call. Follow your life mission, regardless of the fears. Number 6, forsake it. Leave fear behind as you step out and decide you're going to follow that life mission. I'm going to forsake my fear and I'm going to go for it. Number 7, fear it. Fear living in fear more than fear itself. Thank you so much. I hope this has been of some help to you. Hey, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please email me. My email is abe@momentumcoach.ca. Thanks so much.